Hi there, T Prime here. Jeremiah and Ashley asked me to talk about Prime-ism or my belief system. And sorry it took me so long to put this up, but it kind of took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to say and to get it right. And what it comes down to is I think that for most truths, it comes, pretty much down to the blind man and the elephant. Blind man walks up to an elephant, he grabs its leg and says, "Oh, an elephant is like a tree." Another one grabs its trunk and says, "Oh, an elephant is like a snake." One grabs the ear, "No, an elephant is like a blanket." And one grabs the tail, "Oh, an elephant is like a brush." So they're each grabbing a different part, so they're all technically correct, but they're not getting the full view of it because they're blind. And I think that faith and things like that all come down to that same idea that we're seeing part of it, but we're not seeing the whole truth of it. When I think about religion, I think that whatever truth is out there, we each see a part of it, and we see it through the lens of our experiences, our prejudices, our grudges, and I don't think that it's necessarily wrong, but I do think that it means that fundamentally you don't see the same God that another person does. And that's why I've always been fine with, the whole thing of, well, in the Old Testament, God is all fire and brimstone, and then the New Testament, he's very loving. It's because it's based upon the lenses that people see through very deep personal things. And I don't think that, seeing God as wrathful is necessarily a bad thing. I think that for some people they need that overarching force of sturdiness or that rock, it's like God will get you, so you better keep in line. And they need that. Just like some people need help with math, or some people need help putting their emotions into words. I think that everyone has certain strengths and certain weaknesses. I think that the whole reason why we have religious castes is because they're people who are just naturally more predisposed to interacting with, whatever out there is metaphysical or religious, and that just comes more naturally to them. And then other people it doesn't. Just like you give a piece of differential calculus to one person, like, "Oh yeah, I got that," and you give it to another person and their head's going to explode. I think that all life is like that. Same thing with, one person can't stand Brussels sprouts, another person thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. I think that pretty much all of life is in that same sort of subjective way. It's very unique to you. So your interaction with God or the creator, what I might call Primus, is going to be different, and it's wrong of me to try to think that you are going to interact with it the same way I am. And it's definitely wrong of me to try and force my way on you. That's why there are so many sects. It's very into personal interpretation. And when someone finds their truth, their version of it, it's such a moving and powerful experience that they want to share it. Of course, it's like, "Oh, I found Jesus," or "I found Allah," and I feel better. I feel good now. They've definitely found it. If when you really find truth, I think you're happier for it because it kind of pulls your world together, and they might want to share it, but that doesn't mean that they'll interact with it the same way. And I think that those who are like, "No, you need to believe, what I do," and they're very aggressive about it, I don't think they found truth at all. I think that they're trying to force other people into the mold they've been forced into, and maybe they haven't questioned, but they're not happy because they haven't really found their truth. And I think that in many cases it might not be an easy thing. I think that truth is again very subjective. So for me, because I've always been a very emotional person, letting go of my emotions is difficult, but it's part of my growth. Likewise, someone who is, very thoughtful and they tend to overthink, they might need to, stop thinking, meditate, and feel. And that's part of their growth. And I feel like it's all about that deep, meaningful growth. So that's kind of Prime-ism in a nutshell. I mean, there's more to it. I do have my rituals. I do have my other little esoteric beliefs, but I think it always comes down to I have my path, you have yours, and that needs to be respected. You need to respect that there are people who, just aren't going to be on the same path as you, people who just aren't going to agree with you. When they find a truth, I think that you find the sanctity of life. You find that respect for other people. I think that that's, kind of just the nature of the animal, but it's not going to come out the same way. I think that there are many ways to find truth. I work in tea because tea really kind of covers a lot of those same principles. One person tries a tea, oh God, that's terribly bitter. Another person tries it, oh wow, that's almost floral. And then another person tries it, and it's like, this tastes like, grass out of the back of a lawnmower. What is this? I think that life experiences are very similar. Going to a concert can be a magical spiritual experience for some, a nerve wracking, mind numbing, horrible experience for another. And it's a group of people. I don't hate it. I don't like it. It's just a thing. I think that that's how so many experiences, can have so many different reactions, is because it comes through that personal lens, that prime influence of what you are. Call it a soul, call it a spark, call it a fragment of the creator, whatever you want to call it. It's unique to you, and it's going to mean that you won't experience things the same way as another person. And I think that first and foremost, the prime rule is that that difference has to be respected. So that's pretty much what I believe in a nutshell. Feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions, and I will see you at the tea shop. End of line.